We're on.
Hello, welcome. I'm Dr. Lenore Walker, and I'm very excited to bring to you our roundtable today from the COVID IPV group and the APA International Whole Person group. I'm very excited because you know what today is? Here in the United States and in many other countries, it's April Fool's Day. Hey, Giselle, tell me, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Atch.
Atch what? Who?
Achoo. God bless you. Anybody play knock knock jokes with your kids and grandchildren and therapy patients? They're the funniest. Here's another one, Giselle. Let's see if you can do this one. I want a goat.
I two a goat.
I three a goat.
I four a goat.
I five a goat.
I six a goat.
I seven a goat.
I ate a goat.
You ate a goat? How did it taste?
I like the goat cheese.
Maybe goat cheese. So you can see this day today, we're going to have a good time. Now, let me introduce some of the psychologists. Yes, we're psychologists who are on this call as well, because we're a group that's decided we have to help people get through this pandemic. And this is a day to be silly. So we're going to be a little silly, but we're also going to talk about the day. So my partner in crime here is Giselle Gaviria. Dr. Gaviria is here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where I also live. And we also have Rita Rivera, who is going to be a psychologist. She's a graduate student at Albizu University, and hopefully we're getting her going to be a Dr. Rivera very soon. And we've got Dr. Eileen Serlin, who's in San Francisco, and Dr. Marilyn Safer, who is in Israel, Dr. Patricia Villavicencio Carrillo, who is in Madrid, Spain, Dr. Eric Pepper, who is also in the Bay Area in California, and Dr. Eleanor. Oh, Eleanor, I'm blacking on your last name, but we'll fill it in a moment. Who is also in Israel, and it looks like you're driving, Eleanor. So be careful as you drive. And we have Brittany Geddes, who is also a graduate student in Pennsylvania, and we have Amy Lee joining us, who is in the Bay Area as a dance therapist as well. So we're hopefully, I asked everybody to bring some of their jokes as well. We have people who will be joining on as we go through the day. We're usually here from 12 to 1 Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So let's get the show started. I'm going to start us off. I'm going to screen share and talk to you a little bit about, oops. Let me get this up. Let's see if I can share this now. Here we go. So welcome to April Fool's Day. Why do we celebrate April Fool's Day? What is it? What does it do for us? Well, I'm going to try to get this slideshow up. Here we go. So I went and looked up the history because I wasn't sure, even though I always loved playing jokes and pranks on my kids and my grandkids as they were growing up. And what I learned was that it comes back from the Middle Ages in 1582, when we changed, particularly France, changed from the Julian calendar, which started on April 1st, to the Gregorian calendar. And that moved New Year's to January 1st, which is where we celebrate it now. But it was considered April 1st because that was the beginning of spring. And spring was renewal, it was new birth, it was the way we started the year at that time. In France, people were slow to get the news that things had been changed. And so they became the butt of jokes, and they were called fools. And that's how it became April Fools, because they continued to believe that the calendar started in April rather than in January. People thought that they were very gullible, and they played jokes on them. So that's at least one history of how it got the name April Fools. But there were festivals that did similar kinds of things even earlier than that. There was one called Hilaria, which was in ancient Rome, where people dressed up in costumes in the spring. And Jewish people always celebrated Purim, and which was also in the spring. And it was again dressing up in costumes, in disguises, and playing jokes. In fact, in that holiday, Jewish people were told to drink alcohol a lot so they could get even sillier. And many of them to this day continue to take that as an absolute thing that they have to do. Weather was also unstable in spring, as we know even today. Sometimes it rains, sometimes it's sunshine. And so the vernal equinox was always a kind of demarcation for people in the calendar. In 18th century Britain and Scotland, they went hunting for 2 days for what they called the gawk cuckoo bird. And they said it was a fool's errand to try to find them. So you can see it came about in different cultures. Now, in the United States, the media took this and ran with April Fool's Day. And they played lots of pranks using the media, particularly radio and television. So I look back in 1957, one of the most interesting pranks was that they were told that there was an absolute deluge of spaghetti that year, and pasta was hanging from the trees, so we had to harvest it from the trees. And people thought that was hysterical, but they really went out and looked to see if they were going to harvest the spaghetti from the trees. In 1992, an actor playing ex-President Nixon was spoofing everybody by telling them that he was going to run for president again. And this was actually on the air, and it wasn't until later on that they announced it was April's Fools. In 1994, they advertised a new product that they called Lurpa Sleuth. What do you think it was? If you take a look at the words backwards, April Fools. And people didn't know what it was and kept asking where could they get it. In 1996, Taco Bell, one of the fast food restaurants, announced that they bought the Liberty Bell in Pennsylvania, and they were going to call it the Taco Liberty Bell. And again, people fell for the joke. In 1998, Burger King, another fast food restaurant, announced that they were creating a left-handed hamburger. For many years afterwards, people called them and asked them, why can't we get our left-handed hamburger? Of course, there was no such thing. It was another April Fool's. Google also got into the whole act, and they had other products, including a drink they called Google Gulp. Now, Google Internet was not a fake, but the other jokes that Google was playing was. And as late as 2015, Cottonelle, one of the makers of toilet tissue, announced that they were producing left-handed toilet paper. So you can see they range what kinds of spoofs and fake reports would be shown on the media. Why? Because laughter is the best medicine. It's an old saying, and it's one that's really true. Why is it the best medicine? Well, first of all, it helps us stay healthy. It releases the endorphins from the brain, which is what makes us feel good. It strengthens our immune system. It boosts our morale. It diminishes pain. It protects us from stress damage. So important during the pandemic that we've been experiencing. And it can help pull your mind and your body back into balance together when you just have a laugh together. It can lighten all the pain and burdens that we feel. And when we do it with friends, it connects us to other people. It keeps us grounded and focused. And you know what? It even releases anger. If you can find a way to get some laughter when somebody's starting to rise with tension and anger, it really helps release it. And it helps people forgive each other sooner. So when you make a mistake and you can laugh at yourself, sometimes that is the best thing that you can do in addition to apologizing for a mistake. And it restores hope. So we have to laugh during this pandemic. And I hope that we've been laughing with our patients and our clients. There are all kinds of typical pranks. Now, I wouldn't suggest playing these with your clients or patients, but you could with some of your family members. And in my house, our kids and our grandkids always played practical jokes on each other, like getting up in the morning and finding that your toilet seat has been covered with saran wrap. So when you go to use the bathroom, splash, it's all over the place. We used to do that in camp too, which is where I think we learned how to do it. We also used to switch around and put sugar in the salt bowl shaker and put salt in the sugar bowl. There was one that I loved. I haven't tried it yet, but so there was a report that people told that other people that their body would be able to levitate. That means, you know, floating in space, because there's a temporary alignment of two planets, of Pluto and of Jupiter, that would cause the reduction in the Earth's gravity. And people actually called the radio station that this was broadcast on and said they actually were levitating. Now, I would not tell you to try that because you might fall on the floor and we don't want people getting hurt. But it's funny how people tend to believe some of these pranks, and some of them are as numerous as we can think them up. Lots of different ones. And we're going to try to tell some jokes today and move on. I'm going to turn it over to Giselle, my co-conspirator here, who's going to talk about memes, which are today's way of trying to get some humor out over the internet. So Giselle, take it away. And then we're going to have Patricia talk a little bit as well about the work she's been doing with kids to get some humor and laughter for them.
Thank you, Dr. Walker. So hello, everyone. Let me just push this over here. So today's presentation, I just want to talk a little bit, and interestingly, Dr. Walker and I had the same topics that we were going to somewhat talk about, but actually, based on this CAT scale, how are you feeling today? Anyone? You feel like 1? I'm feeling like number 5 right now. 2, we got a 2. We got a 2. Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else?
Number 6, like Eileen's new baby.
4. I got a 4. Eleanor said a 4. Eileen said a 2. Anybody else? Amy's like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 1, 4. She's feeling all different types of way today. Amy, thank you. So laughter is not a joking manner. So a lot of the information that I brought up today is in regards to Mayo Clinic. A good sense of humor can't cure all ailments, but there is definitely a lot of information out there on how there are consistent benefits. So some short terms is stimulating organs, oxygen, respiratory systems as well, activating and relieving stress responses and soothing tensions. So muscle aid and things like that. Long-term effects, improving the immune system, relieving pain. And I continuously think about Patch Adams and his laughter and all this history that he had with clients and just laughter in childhood. That's a childhood memory of mine, watching that movie and just really understanding increasing personal satisfaction and improving overall mood. And then particularly for those of us who suffer from depression and anxiety. Laughter is the best medicine. So some of the ideas that I thought that with Mayo Clinic that thought would be good, seeking out these greeting cards, or here I posted up a couple of memes, which is consistent. The first one in regards to whenever you're making a purchase and you have to ID, make sure that you're not a bot. How much do you overthink that? Consistently thinking, should I click that top because it's still the signal, or my therapist consistently giving me unconditional positive regard and me not wanting to hear it, some of our clients, or who ended up deciding that it was emotional baggage. Why not grief case instead of that? So it's just thinking, and there are a lot of groups on Facebook that talk about laughter and humor in regards to therapy, laughter and humor in regards to certain mood disorders and things like that, just to bring the serious topic down to a notch to make us laugh. So simply finding a few items such as photo, greeting cards, comic strips that make us chuckle. And another thing is during this time of pandemic, we are noticing all these individuals coming up with these shows online. Granted, they're saying a lot of these comedians are saying it's very difficult not being in front of a live audience, but through Zoom, through the fascination of Zoom, have been able to actually, you go into a nightclub kind of setting on Zoom and are able to invite friends over and laugh and have a good time. So that's something else. Find a way to laugh about your own situation. So the meme that I have on today, my therapist leading me through a guided imagery. Now imagine yourself floating serenely down the river, and I'm thinking, I'm a trash bin on fire. And sometimes I'm consistently thinking, I'm like, are we really getting to them, or are they thinking about something completely different and trying to at least seem like they're focusing? So it's, and then the last one is being able to share the laugh. I know that I have certain chat groups with certain individuals, friends, colleagues that were consistently sending each other memes and laughter. And my dad will send me things and I'm like, I didn't picture you as being one of those types, but no, he's consistently sending me things. Did you see this? Did you see that? And especially in the time when we're in process of grieving and suffering from depression, symptoms of depression, it can lighten the mood up a lot. So this one says in regards to a friend, and there were a couple of them, in regards to not understanding exactly who the bad influence is. And I really feel like sometimes Dr. Walker and I think about this and say, who's a bad influence on who? As Dr. Walker nods her head. So, and then the history of memes, and actually, the word meme actually was coined by Richard Darwin in 1976 in the book Selfish Gene, and attempted to explain how cultural information spreads and the concept of the internet. And then in 1993, Mike Goodwin actually in the Wire magazine posted what apparently seems to be the first meme. And on the bottom, it says what you think you look like when the flashlight is on and what you actually look like. So I thought that was interesting. And then to finalize a little bit, now we have memes, but then we also have GIFs. So some of it's translating along the lines of the same thing, and some of the things that they're talking about GIFs, these moving memes, is that it came around 96, and a lot of us know about this dancing baby because of Ally McBeal way back in the day, and this is actually some of the first memes in regards to GIFs that you can now use on your cell phones consistently and send over to friends. So enjoy yourselves, find the humor in each and every day. And that's it. Oh, and then this last one, the 4 horsemen of procrastination: napping, snacking, social media, and minor chores when I'm trying to get my work done. And then now I'm going to pass it to my other co-conspirator, Patricia.
Oh, I don't know if I'll be able to measure up both of your presentations. I'm too serious. Let me check. Okay, I think what I'll be doing is, if I have time, I present the slides. But there are a couple of things that I do with my patients. I've been doing muscle relaxation groups for a long time, and which is quite boring in a way. But I try. I love your dog, Giselle. Okay.
Sorry,
So,
April
and
Fools.
okay, I'll be doing three exercises with all of you. Uh, One that I've learned in internet, which is a laughter yoga that I happened to run into and did not know that existed, but I loved it, and I've been smiling all the way since I promised to do the presentations, and and I battle myself being serious and being funny, and I will try to be funny today. Okay, so I will teach you how to remember the muscle relaxation, uh, just the body, my hands and arms, your hands and arms, and then your face. And I tell the kids and my patients that in order to remember this sequence, we're going, all of us, grab something, everyone try to grab something and hold that. It's yours. You keep it for 5 seconds. 1, 2, and then you leave it and, relax and feel the difference between the tension before, when you wanted to keep all your greedy and then you relax and you feel that you're compassionate, you want to share whatever you were holding, and then you keep it, bring your arms and you say, no, I don't want to give it back. And you keep it for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you leave it. Your angel side tells you to let it go and be compassionate and share whatever you wanted badly. And then you try to reach out to everyone. Everyone is there and you're reaching out 5 seconds. Everyone is with you, and then you leave it and relax yourself, and you know that you've reached out to people all over the world. And then we're going to make funny faces and to remember the facial tension and release. So what I tell my patients is that to think that something is happening or you're watching somebody and it's funny, and so you put your, you do this, like, oh my god, I cannot believe it. you're eyebrows, you go up 5 seconds and then no. Okay, you relax. No, I haven't seen it. 10 seconds, you relax. And then you say, oh my God, yes, I did see it. Oh no, I saw Dr. Walker doing this. No, I cannot tell. Okay, and then no, I won't tell anybody what I saw. I said, because I don't want to tell, I close my eyes, 5 seconds. No, I didn't see it. I didn't see Elaine doing this. Oh no, 5 seconds. And then you release your attention. And then you go to your mouth, because you're not going to say a word what you have seen. You do this. Shut up your mouth. 5 seconds. And then you say, okay, I won't say it again. But you have to bite your tongue because you are not able to keep your mouth shut. So bite your tongue. Don't bite it. Just put your tongue up like this. Up here. 5 seconds and say, okay, no, I won't say a word, I promise. And then I smile like this. 5 seconds and then it's over. Okay, that's I have to do this. We have to be creative in our offices, right? Especially with teens. And so they laugh and I do funny faces and kids think I'm kind of nuts. And there is another game that I happen to not invent, because I think it's all over the world, that it's in Spain we call it veo veo. It's I see. And let me see if I can share the screen. Where should I go, Lenore, to share my presentation? You know?
Yes, share screen. It should be the middle.
You see the green button,
Okay, I see.
and then it'll say share when you see it.
Yes, compartir. Okay.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. And so, no. Well, I won't stop here. Laughter. We are not the only species that is able to laugh, and maybe other species know how to laugh and we don't know yet how they laugh actually. And we as kids start smiling with 2 or 3 weeks age, and then laughter comes only approximately between 4 and 6 months. And let me check this. There was something that I wanted to share. Well, wait a minute. I'm sorry. About laughter therapies. And there is one. Okay, laughter. Okay, here. Okay, there is a systematic review meta-analysis, and it's been the first one. I don't know, there is another one because I had not much time to check on different meta-analysis, but this is the very first one. On laughter inducing therapies for different populations and outcomes, and overall quality of evidence was low. This research field has not yet reached maturity, but non-humorous laughter attains higher effects sizes than humorous laughter. So if you make people laugh with no reason, it's much significant. Laughter-inducing therapies may improve depression, anxiety, and perceived stress. And that's the same thing. And that's what Dr. Gaviria has been talking about. And here is the play. Oh, the game. I just passed it. I'm sorry. Anterior. Okay, here. And when I did this, the one which has the little kid doing this game, and I did this exercise and play with my patients when there was a confinement, and it worked. So although we couldn't see each other because of security reasons, it was the beginning of the confinement last year's. So what I ask, and if you anybody could just grab a piece of paper and a pen, and what you do is ask the other person on the other side to choose something and try to give some details, not 100%. And what you could do is draw it. And I do this now in person in groups with kids, in Tuesday groups, the group for kids that have depression symptoms. And we start choosing something in the room and just describe it. And each one of us, the participants, including the therapist, we try to guess what it is. And it could come out something very funny, or, the thing that kids have more creativity and older adults don't have it as me. So they laugh at it. So the kind of drawings I do, or the other kids do, and it helps participants to get a sense of cohesion and group bonding. Anyways, I haven't been that funny, I think, as Dr. Leonard Walker and Dr. Giselle Gaviria. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you so much.
Excellent, Patricia, excellent. I think that children help us become funnier.
Yeah.
As adults, we're so serious all the time, especially when we're dealing with very serious things. But we need to laugh with children, and they make us laugh.
And it's almost
I don't think you have been watching, but if anybody's been watching, take a look at Amy. Eileen, put back your costume. It was perfect. So there are many ways to make people laugh. Eric, did you want to share a joke with us or something funny? You're muted.
My joke ability, forget that part. But I think laughter is just great. And it always reminds me of many years ago for health. And that was by Norman Cousins' book, Anatomy of an Illness. But I thought we had been sitting, so I thought we should practice laughter. And so I like to share, and like all of you put your mics, turn off mute so we can hear each other all at the same time. And I'm going to share a little video clip, if that works.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can set this up so it's all seen. You should all be seeing a lion, is that correct?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And now what I like you do is just, you know what you do for laughter, you just bring your lips slightly up and then you start practicing laughter, just like, hold on, it should have worked, there we are. Can you hear it or not?
No.
And so practice with that.
I think that's laughter yoga, right? Yeah.
Fabulous. Just fabulous.
Makes my whole body move, so it's all I could think of for a moment.
My cheek was sore.
That's great. That means you're not laughing enough.
It's called, I love that term, sharing laughter with someone. And you see it in novels all the time. They shared laughter. It's contagious. I
Yes.
think that's something else to say about it.
Do you ever with a little baby who starts to giggle and you just can't stop giggling? That first few giggles on a baby is just so precious.
It's contagious. It's so contagious.
It is. Laughter is contagious.
Yeah, I try to find like an online collection of baby laughters. Then I'll share with you guys afterwards. Yeah, it was really fun just to watch it, and you can't stop laughing. Just look at the baby. Yeah, and we all like that when we were babies, just so that you know. So don't forget.
Patricia, I love making that exercise so funny to do with children, especially with adolescents who are very resistant to doing any of that. I just love doing something like that.
You know what I do with children a lot? I just grab this. This is not a funny one, but it's a scary one, by the way. Yes, I get it in Africa.
Big ear coming out.
We make masks a lot. Yeah,
Mhm.
there we go.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. It's from
I had a little girl in therapy who had been sexually abused, and she came in. We would do drawing. She would come in and she would draw a hearing aid. Remember those old big hearing aids
Like a
that would
trumpet?
go over the ear and then had a little like monitor on it. And she would draw it, she'd color it, she'd cut it out, and she'd put it on her ear, and she'd make one for me and put it on my ear. And in those days, I was trying to figure out what did that mean to her. And finally, one day she said to me, "You're the only one who can hear me. Nobody else listens to me."
Oh, wow.
Which was really so interesting. So with
Well,
children,
of course,
you
that's
think
the thing. That's the thing that I was going to say. I'm sorry, but laughter. Remember, I said I don't do jokes very well. It's so often nonverbal, and that's for symbols and masks and art and all of that and movement stuff. We'd make movement jokes. You recognize you kind of tease each other in movement, like I'm gonna catch you to the kids, and they know you're not, and they laugh. But so these are all nonverbal ways that I just wanted to say. Good going, everybody. Sorry.
Yeah, my grandchildren used to get books of jokes, and they would try to play jokes on us and read them out loud, and it was a great way to get them reading, of course, and reading together and sharing it together. But some of them were really funny. I don't know. I haven't looked at it for a long time whether whether, as Giselle was saying, some things that were jokes a number of years ago may not be politically correct today. So we have to be very careful of it. Every year at APA, Frank Farley would put on this humor evening, and he would have a presentation of people invited to do humor. And I always played his straight person for the 2,000-year-old man who Frank would play. And he was the 2,000-year-old psychologist who came back and was looking at what was going on in psychology and totally making fun of what we were doing and some of the things that were so silly to do. And I couldn't resist sometimes going off script, and he would get very frustrated. And I'd say to him things like, 2000 years ago, it might have been okay to be frustrating, but now you cannot be. And I mean, the audience would actually be hilarious. They would be so funny. And he would have several other people as well. And David, my husband, was getting up to do some jokes. And I realized fortunately, he had practiced with me beforehand, a few of them. And one of them was so racist. I said to him, "You can't say that joke." He said, "But it's funny." I said, "Not anymore. It's not funny. You have to screen some of those old," I think there was a Jackie Mason joke or something like that. So, I mean, it wasn't just his, it was somebody else had done it. So we
And it's
have
also
to be
about
careful.
timing. And it's also about timing. I know that the most of us have heard in regards to Volkswagen saying it was going to change his name to Volt because it was going to go all electronic. And they're like, why? And then the media was having a frenzy over it. They're like 2 days too early into saying that it was an April Fool's joke. Another thing that I thought about with telling jokes is asking Alexa or "Hey Google, tell me a joke," or "Hey Alexa, tell me a joke," in English and in Spanish. And that's been like, I brought my parents one to Colombia, and we had these individuals who had never seen this technology, and they're like, and obviously you say, "Hey Alexa," and then my aunt was like, "Oh, I thought they just named it Alexa because my sister's name is Alex." She's like, "Oh, I thought it was just, they said Alexa, it wasn't called Alexa." And it was just funny because they didn't know what was going on with asking questions. They're like, why is it, I know that they call it Alexa. They didn't realize it. So I don't know. It's pretty interesting. And I know that technology has really helped us recently in incorporating jokes and having more laughter and remembering that child inside that we have.
Mhm.
I wonder whether jokes must change their impact when it's in a different language. So if you know
Yeah.
a joke in Spanish or a joke in Hebrew, and then you try to translate it back into English, it just may go flat. It may not at all be funny.
You know what was interesting? Because I looked up the whole, you can't have your cake and eat it too. It was this whole dynamic and how in different countries, like in Russia, I believe that you can't sit in 2 chairs at once. And then in Yiddish, they changed it to you can't put your tuchis on 2 chairs at once. And then they were, I don't know, me and my sister got into a conversation of where they came up with this, because in Spanish, at least in Colombia, is you can't have pan, arepa y pedazo, which is like a tortilla, a corn tortilla, a thicker one, and you can't have your piece of bread and then another piece of something else. So it's interesting just how certain jokes translate, but in a different way.
Giselle, I just want to add one thing to the Yiddish one, if you don't mind, because that's
Go
my
ahead. If I
grandmother.
got it wrong, let me know.
My grandmother would say, "One tuchus can't dance at 2 weddings."
That was another one that they mentioned. That's another one that they
We
mentioned.
don't sit in chairs, we dance at weddings. Anybody remember that one? I see heads nodding.
Yeah, Huh?
Some of the Yiddish jokes are hysterical. Like, I remember one of them that you should grow like an onion with your head in the ground and your tuchus in the air.
Lenore, I'm sorry to contradict you, but that's a Yiddish curse.
Well, that's true.
They often can't tell the difference.
Or gates up and couple pants. Go hit your head against the wall.
But I wanted to say something about the onion for a minute, because I was thinking this whole thing about spring festivals, Purim, everything. And I actually sent out a little note on this on email. Being upside down is not only funny, but that's what happens this time of year. The world is upside down. We stand upside down. I actually took a yoga class once where she had us do a feet up the wall or headstand to see what the world looked like upside down. Because at the beginning of pandemic, we all felt that right was left and left was right and everything was upside down and we lost our bearings and we were disoriented and we didn't know what was true, what was false. So playing out this upside down thing is really a way of coping with it. A
But
way
we
of
didn't
playing.
find that funny at that time, Eileen. That was it was terrifying.
But it's a way, but this is a way of playing with it and sort of normalizing it. And it's true, I think, in a lot of the spring rituals. I'm thinking about Shakespeare and the, in the garden and the fools, the playing the fool, where
Right.
everything got switched, all the partners got switched, everything. And then, of course, at the end, which is springtime in the garden, people find the right partners and the donkey finds the other person, everybody's matched again. So this thing about the world being upside down is part of spring bacchanals and rituals, and it helps us deal with the fact that we feel like things are upside down a lot. We play with that idea.
I know that when my patients are able to use some humor, that they're starting to heal. That's a very good sign for us, that because I think to find humor, and especially humor in yourself, you have to distance yourself a little bit from that. And if you are too depressed or if you're too anxious, you can't do that and step aside to see how funny things are.
And I know that when I do therapy, I rarely talk about this before, but humor between us, when we start teasing each other or there's a kind of a kidding, it's a really good sign in the relationship. And often you can't do that at the beginning. People feel like but now I have joking and we have our own little private repertoire of jokes and things like that. It's about developing intimacy in the relationship. So that's a good sign that therapy is moving in a good direction.
Amy, you had something to say?
Yeah, there's multiple things. One is I was gonna say laughter, like actually creates a bonding experience. And then improv exercise is a great way to get strangers to laugh together, in a way that really like all of a sudden if you, oh wow, that person, is not like a famous person or whatever, like even here, like I've been in this roundtable for some time. Today I really feel connected to you guys, right? Like, where I just know you guys have the name, your practice, but now like, oh, you're just another human being that like to laugh. It completely open up this different area of humanity, and I think that creates bonding experience, and that can be intentionally implemented into any practice by adding these kind of improv exercise in a fun, engaging way. The other thing I was gonna say, Giselle, in Chinese, like whatever you were saying, Chinese is like there was this. It's actually funny. It's because I speak the local language where I speak to my mom, like which is Fujian dialect. So like and then there's the Mandarin version, which meaning that a single coin will not make a sound, right? So like whenever something breaks down or like people get into argument and stuff, like the Chinese always say that because like it's never been one person's fault. There's always two people like that's a single coin will not make a sound. Yeah, it was funny, right? A lot of sense. And then the other thing is talk about kids one, right? I'm gonna share one joke with you guys, and this is a joke that I learned from a kid on the stage, and this I think it was like this is the most creative school in actually in the Bay Area, in near Cupertino. And so each year they put a student show where their senior students, like 5th or 6th grade, they would do the video production, the productions, and then the little kids were on stage. And if you dare to be on stage, you could do whatever you want, sing, dance, tell, joke, whatever. So this is like, I went to that show because the family who hosted me during cancer, had 2 little babies that was in the school, right? So this one joke, and I always share this, and it was so good that people just enjoying it. Okay, are you guys ready? Why is the computer having a cold? Because
it has a virus.
No.
I give up.
Guessing.
I would go with Brittany and say it has a virus.
Oh. because you forgot to close the window.
It's good one.
That's very good, Amy.
Oh, very good.
And then the another joke is from this baby girl that we were living with. So it's like, what does a cat say when feel hurts? Like, what does a cat say when the cat feels hurt?
When the cat hurts.
Yeah, when a
Meow.
cat hurts.
Ow.
Get it close. Meouch.
Very good.
That is also from a kid, you know, so it's really funny. And
Very cute.
I couldn't really believe they created that. It was just the funniest one I ever heard. And it was so easy to remember and easy to share. Yeah. So anyway, learn from the kids.
Absolutely. Rita, did you want to share what you wrote in the chat?
Well, before you were saying that, you know, when we start using humor, it's like a sign of healing. So I said I must be really healing from my dissertation because I make a joke of it every day.
You know, I remember being in school and some professors on top of the clock, underneath it, it would say time's passing, are you? And I was like, oh, are you passing the class today?
I mean, when Dr. Walker said that we may have to share a joke, I just said I was gonna just say grad school. You know, that's a joke for me.
Yes, I'm relating to everything that Rita's saying.
You know, I had a student who would get to class early. This guy was a real jokester, and he was always late to class, and I was always giving him a hard time for being late to class. So one day he gets to class very early, and he puts up a picture of himself totally disheveled with a can of beer in his hand on the screen. So when I walked in, this is what I see. And everybody started laughing. It was like, you know, he made a whole joke out of it. Instead of being embarrassed about it, he made a joke out of it. And I suggested to him, since he was able to school early enough to be able to do that, that perhaps he was changing his behavior in the right direction. And everybody had a good laugh, and he still was a little bit less, he came in a little bit more often on time, but not too much more.
Lenore, I don't know if we have time for this. I don't think so. But when you said bring a joke, I froze. I said to you, I don't do well at verbal jokes because first, I don't have any memory at all anyway. And then secondly, it always seems canned humor. I'm much happier with spontaneous joking around and stuff. So, but what I did find is, I think this got me and a lot of us through pandemic was humor, not only the memes online and the way of connecting and sharing, but also teasing ourselves about. So what I prepared, it's just a video clip, I'm not sure, but if anybody remembers Randy Rainbow.
Yes, he's done all the wonderful, funny, he made fun of every government official that deserved to be made fun of.
Well, I was going through last night trying not to get too political, but I did find one that I could show you a clip or else not.
Oh, sure, go ahead, we've got some time.
Of social isolation. Let's see if I can find this on my, please continue. I'm going to scramble around while I share screen and see if I can find them.
Eleanor, were you raising your hand? Were you going to?
Yeah, just when you mentioned the teaching, I remember I love self-humor and laughing at myself. And I love it when my students laugh. And one of the most upsetting things at the beginning on Zoom was that I was so funny and no one, everyone is muted. So here I was, thinking I was so funny and, silence. And, I really felt so upset about, saying something funny and, oh my God. So anyway, that's what we call topsy-turvy. So
Absolutely. I have always, I have always disliked doing radio interviews because you can't see anybody. At least television interviews you can, and then doing webinars, I actually sit and I imagine a whole audience there, and you don't know whether they laugh at your jokes or not. When I do training in another country and I have a translator, I know some people know English because they laugh at the time I tell the joke. And then about 3 minutes, you hear a whole group of people laughing because the translator had just translated it. Brittany, you had your hand.
May I say something regarding wearing masks? We, as therapists, as psychotherapists, we need now to show our patients our smiles with our eyes and with a tone of voice. I feel so sorry for those people's, colleagues that you never had this in mind, like the rhythm, how in
This is the
although on the other hand, psychoanalysis have this
game where grandson and granddad will bond.
It's
Are
also
you
that
ready,
you get
Eileen,
the,
or should we let Brittany say something? She has her hand up.
while Eileen is getting ready, just Patricia talked about the masks, but also when a client that you only know with a mask, and only new clients, or you can maybe know them at 8 months, 9 months, and then you take off the masks. I don't want to go into details, but that is so challenging. Yes, the first time you take off the mask, for the first time you see your client, you've worked a year together with that client, and this the first time you're looking at him without a mask, and my teeth, and that I won't go into details, but it is challenging. Prepare yourself.
Even with coworkers, I think it's even with coworkers that saw pictures of me, they're like, that doesn't look like you. And I'm like, well, it is me.
I found Randy Rainbow. He was on my screen and he disappeared last night. I'm not sure I've got the right place, but you just want to see a moment of him?
Sure.
I think it's going to be.
Share sound, Eileen.
I'm sorry, what?
Sound. When you do screen share, click on share sound to make sure we can hear the audio clearly. At the bottom left, click on share sound.
I don't see a bottom left.
No, go back to
not share. Sorry, everybody. Share sound.
Click on share screen.
Is it under security?
No, you had to click on share screen first. And then when the screen pop up at the bottom left, it has a share sound.
Thank you. Okay.
And then we can really hear the sound. A lot of people don't do that, and then people can't hear the audio.
Exactly. I just have advanced sharing options.
No, in the bottom on the left, bottom left. Don't need to go to the advanced share option. No, just click on share screen first, and then the white screen will
share sound. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Perfect.
Thanks, Amy. Never knew that.
Yeah, good tip. Yeah.
You want to open it?
Millions of American families are what we believe is important for every American to significantly impact the spread of the coronavirus.
I have always led such an active life. I'm a social butterfly and kind of a whore. But this COVID spread now is running rife. And my country needs me, so I won't be anymore. I will break the chain. I will social distance, though it sounds mundane. Though I'll be a grouch, my community now relies on me.
Thank you for your efforts.
I will save the human race by lying on my couch. church. I'll stay home from work for a million days. I will order Grubhub and I'll eat by myself. I will shop online, let my FOMO blaze. I will do my duty till they're charming on the shelf. I will crush the curve. I will social distance. I'll be here to serve. While I'm watching Disney Plus, there are lives to save, so I must be brave. I'll defeat the enemy by binging This Is Us. Like my ancestors.
Perfect.
All right.
Perfect choice. Well, we are out of time again. It's amazing how fast this hour goes. We're such a great group. We will see you all again next Thursday at 12 noon Eastern Daylight Savings Time, 3 o'clock in California. What is it, 7 o'clock still in Israel and
9 o'clock.
and Spain, 9 o'clock.
California. In the morning.
In the morning.
Oh, 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm going backwards.
7 o'clock here.
10 o'clock in Madrid at night. 7 o'clock at night. Israel is what?
Sunny. Sunny Madrid.
Beautiful. So we'll be back next week, bringing you some more things to help us all deal with the pandemic.
It's a surprise.
Have a wonderful week and April Fools to everybody.
Thank you.
Keep sharing our videos, keep liking our groups. Bye.
Yes.
We also have a dance party this weekend. If
Oh,
you guys
that's
want to
right.
join our Sure. Yeah, and Dance for Healing just won this People's Choice Award at the CTA Foundation ARP Innovation Labs. So it's already a planned event, and turns out going to be a celebration too. So I'll share with you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Sunday afternoon.
Please post it on our
Yeah.
COVID IPV and the whole person health.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. Awesome.